The Iron Cross bikers discovered Jake Martinez living in a cardboard box under the bridge, his service dog dying beside him. Everyone thought they'd just give him a meal and ride away, until Jake showed them the photo. The one proving he'd taken the bullet meant for their chapter president's daughter. Before I continue the story, please subscribe. I need to reach 1,000 subscribers so I can keep bringing you stories like this every day. It's just one click for you, but it means a lot to me. Thank you. The engines cut at 6:47 a.m. under the Route 9 overpass, 6 Harleys going silent in succession like a closing zipper. Stone Garrett swung his leg over the seat, boots crunching on gravel mixed with broken glass and discarded syringes. The smell hit him first. Diesel from the trucks thundering overhead, human waste, and something else. Rot. The kind that settles into fabric and skin and never quite leaves. He'd done this run the first Tuesday of every month for 3 years now, checking the places where broken veterans washed up like driftwater against concrete pilings. Most times they found empty camps. Sometimes they found men who'd take a sandwich and a card with the VA crisis line number. Twice they'd found bodies. Stone pulled his leather vest tighter against the February cold and nodded to Wrench. They spread out, 5 other members fanning through the shadows where morning light didn't reach. Bear spotted it first. Cardboard box, the heavy-duty kind that held commercial refrigerators, laid on its side like a cave. Torn military sleeping bags spilling out, empty MRE wrappers scattered like leaves, and kneeling in the dirt, a man so thin his camo jacket hung on him like he was made of wire hangers. He was bent over something. A dog. The German Shepherd lay on its side, ribs showing through dull fur, breathing in shallow gasps that fogged in the frigid air. The dog's eyes were clouded, unfocused, dying. The man had his own jacket pulled off despite the cold, tucking it around the animal with hands that shook so badly he could barely grip the fabric. It hung from a piece of paracord tied to the cardboard shelter, spinning slowly in the wind coming off the highway. The metal caught weak morning light, tarnished but unmistakable. Stone's jaw tightened. Another one. Another Marine the system chewed up and spit out under a bridge to die with his dog. He started forward, already running through the script. Offer food. Offer a ride to the VA. Offer a phone number for the shelter downtown. Most wouldn't take it. Pride or shame, or some combination that made men choose concrete over help. But he had to try. He always tried. Wrench was already moving, pulling water bottles and wrapped sandwiches from his saddlebag. Stone let him take point. Wrench had a way with the broken ones, something gentle in his rough exterior that made men trust him. The veteran looked up as they approached. His face was weathered beyond his years. Hollow cheeks covered in patchy beard growth, eyes that had seen too much and showed it. Maybe late 30s, maybe 50. Hard living made age impossible to guess. Rex needs a vet, not me. The words came out rasping, desperate. The man's entire focus stayed on the dog, hands stroking the animal's fur with a tenderness that made Stone's chest hurt. Wrench crouched down slow, keeping distance, holding out a water bottle. "We can get you both help, brother. There's a clinic that opens at 8. We know an emergency vet." The veteran's hands shook worse when he reached inside his shirt, pulling out a waterproof bag, the kind soldiers used to keep photos and letters dry in combat zones. He fumbled with the seal, fingers not cooperating, finally getting it open. Inside was a photograph in a protective sleeve. He held it out to Stone. His hands trembled so hard the image blurred. Stone took it. The photograph was faded, colors washed out by time and sun, but the image was clear enough. Desert background, blast barriers, Marines in full combat gear, and in the center, frozen in time, a Marine throwing himself in front of a teenage girl. The girl's face was visible, mouth open in a scream, dark hair whipping across her features. 16 years old, terrified, a heartbeat from death. The Marine was airborne, body angled to shield her, face set in determination. Behind them both, the flash of an explosion just beginning to bloom. Stone's vision narrowed. The gravel under his boots disappeared. The sound of the highway faded. His hands went numb. The photograph shook now in his grip instead of the veteran's. That girl. He knew that face. He'd watched it grow from infant to child to teenager. He'd held that baby in the hospital, taught her to ride a bike, walked her to her first day of school, watched her board a plane to visit him in Iraq, 17 years old and stubborn as her old man. Emma, his daughter. Fallujah, 2009. The marketplace bombing. He'd been there. He'd been 50 yards away when the vest detonated. He'd seen the Marine go down, seen the blood, seen Emma alive and whole when the dust settled because someone had gotten between her and the blast. He'd searched. God. He'd searched. Hospitals, casualty lists, transfer records. The Marine had disappeared into the military medical system and then vanished. No forwarding address, no contact information, just gone. And Stone had carried that debt every single day since. Every birthday Emma celebrated, every holiday dinner. Her college graduation, her wedding last year, walking her down the aisle in her white dress. All of it borrowed time. All of it paid for in blood and shrapnel by a Marine whose name Stone had never learned. Until now. You? The word came out broken. Stone's voice cracked like he was 16 himself. You're the Marine. You're the one who saved Emma. The other members gathered, sensing something had shifted. Bear and Tiny and Wrench formed a loose circle, watching their president drop to his knees in the gravel beside a homeless veteran. The veteran looked confused. Just did my job? She made it home? Stone couldn't speak. He could only nod. His throat had closed up. 40 years old when Emma was born. Thought he'd never have kids. Late in life, miracle. And this man, this Marine kneeling in his own filth under a bridge with a dying dog, had given Stone every moment after Fallujah. Every father-daughter dance. Every phone call. Every holiday. Every future grandchild he'd ever hold. This man had bought all of it with his own body. Jake's response was automatic. Trained. Just doing my job. But his eyes kept sliding back to Rex. The dog's breathing had gotten worse. More ragged. Jake could hear the fluid in the lungs. Not much time. Maybe hours. Maybe less. He should have found a vet days ago, but the money and the access and the strength had all run out at the same time. Now Rex was dying, and Jake was watching it happen, and maybe that was fitting. Maybe they'd both just stop fighting. Easier that way. We're getting you both help. Now. Stone's voice had changed. It carried command weight. Orders, not requests. Jake started to protest. He'd heard it all before. Promises from well-meaning people that dissolved like morning fog when reality hit. But this time was different. This man was looking at him like he mattered. Like he was someone instead of something to step over on the sidewalk. Stone kept talking. This isn't charity. This is a debt. You gave me my daughter. I gave her away at her wedding last year because you bled in that sand. Wrench already had his phone out, calling someone, speaking in low, urgent tones. Bear was talking to someone named Rita, words tumbling out fast. Full chapter alert. The Marine who saved Emma. Get everything ready. Tiny moved toward Rex with surprising gentleness for a man his size, hands the size of dinner plates sliding under the dog with the care of someone handling spun glass. Jake tried to stand, his legs buckled. Malnutrition and old injuries and 2 days without food caught up all at once. Stone caught him. Strong arms, steady, holding him upright. I got you, brother. The words punched through Jake's defenses. Brother. He hadn't been anyone's brother in 6 years. They loaded him into a truck bed that had been modified with blankets and padding, clearly set up for exactly this kind of run. Bear and Tiny rode alongside, Rex in a custom sidecar rig that Jake's fuzzy brain registered as purpose-built. These men did this. They looked for people like him. They came prepared. Stone rode ahead, phone pressed to his ear, making call after call. The world blurred. Jake kept whispering to Rex. "Hold on, boy. Just a little longer. We're getting help. Please, hold on." His mind drifted, fragments surfacing through exhaustion. Medical discharge. Third surgery failed. Pain medication cut. Lost the apartment. Couldn't keep Rex in the shelter. Made a choice. Streets with his dog or roof without him. No choice at all, really. Rex had saved him every night for years. Woke him before the nightmares turned into screaming fits. Pressed against him during panic attacks. Kept him breathing when the darkness said to stop. Now Rex was dying, and Jake was going to lose the only thing that had kept him human. The vet clinic materialized. Dr. Chen was waiting outside, short woman with efficient movements and kind eyes. She had Rex on an exam table within seconds. Heart failure, kidney disease, severe malnutrition. She rattled off problems while Jake stood swaying. He refused to leave. His hand stayed on Rex's fur. "You saved me every night, buddy. Every single night." Dr. Chen glanced at Stone. "The dog needs intensive care. Expensive." And even then, Stone's response was immediate. "Do everything. Cost doesn't matter." Jake wanted to argue, but the room was tilting. They moved him to another location. Free clinic. Nurse named Maria, with hands that had touched 1,000 broken bodies and still stayed gentle. She took vitals, while Jake asked about Rex every 30 seconds. Blood pressure critically low. Infected wound on his leg from a rat bite 2 weeks back. Weight loss so severe his organs were starting to shut down. Maria worked while she talked, her voice steady. "Your dog is being cared for. Now let us care for you. IV fluids, antibiotics, wound cleaning that hurt so bad Jake bit through his lip, but he stayed still. Let them work, because Stone was outside making another call, and Jake could hear parts of it through the thin walls. "Baby, I need you to come to the free clinic on Morrison. Don't ask questions. Just come. It's about Fallujah." A woman's voice on the other end, rising in concern. "Dad, what's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Everything's about to be right. Just come." Jake's head lolled against the exam table. He caught fragments of activity around him. Text messages flying, phone calls multiplying. Bear talking to Rita about mobilization. The words spreading through some network Jake didn't understand. The Marine who saved Emma. "He's alive! He's here! He needs us!" Emma, the girl from the photograph, Stone's daughter. She'd survived, grown up, had a wedding. That knowledge settled into Jake's chest, and for the first time in years, something other than survival instinct flickered. Purpose. Meaning. He'd done something that mattered. She made it home. That was enough. That had to be enough. The morphine they'd given him for the wound cleaning was dragging him under. He fought it, needed to stay awake, needed to make sure Rex was okay. But his body had other ideas. 6 years of running on empty was catching up. Stone's voice drifted through the fog. "She's coming! Emma's coming! You're going to meet her. You're going to see what you gave us." Jake's last conscious thought was simple. Rex. Take care of Rex. Then darkness took him, and for once, the nightmares didn't come. Emma Garrett Sullivan pushed through the clinic doors at 9:20 a.m., still wearing her scrubs from Regional Medical, dark hair pulled back in the same practical ponytail she'd worn since nursing school. Stone stood in the waiting room, and the look on his face stopped her cold. She'd seen her father cry exactly twice in her life. Once when her mother died. Once at her wedding. Now his eyes were red, and his hands shook as he held out a photograph. "That's the day." The words came out strangled. "That's the Marine." Emma took the photo, and 16 years collapsed into nothing. The marketplace in Fallujah. The heat and the smell of spices and diesel. The sound of her father's voice, telling her to stay close. The man who'd appeared from nowhere, body slamming into hers, weight crushing her to the ground as the world exploded orange and white and red. She'd never seen his face clearly. Just the flash of his eyes, determined and afraid and absolutely certain. Then blood and screaming, and her father pulling her up, checking her for injuries, while the Marine lay motionless in spreading crimson. Every birthday since she'd blown out candles, and thought I'm alive because of him. Every Christmas morning, every nursing school exam, her wedding day when she'd insisted on an empty chair with a small flag draped over it, the chair for the Marine who saved me. And everyone thought it was symbolic, but Emma knew it was a debt unpaid. She'd tried to find him. Military channels, veteran databases, hospital records, medical discharge in 2011, and then nothing. Like he'd evaporated. Where is he? Her voice came out raw. Stone pointed to the treatment room. Maria let Emma through, and the smell hit her first. Antiseptic trying to cover unwashed skin and infected wounds, and the particular odor of someone whose body was eating itself. Jake lay on the exam table, IV in his arm, sleeping but not peaceful. His face twitched, lips moving in whispered Spanish, words she couldn't quite catch, but the tone was pleading, begging. Her nurse training kicked in automatically. Severe malnutrition, BMI probably 17 or 18. Visible scarring on his arms. That infected wound on his leg was bad. Probably needed debridement. Respiratory rate slightly elevated. Possible pneumonia. Chronic pain evident in how he held himself even unconscious. Then her personal reaction caught up. Hand over her mouth, tears blurring the harsh fluorescent lights. You saved me, and nobody saved you. The whisper barely made sound. Jake's eyes opened. Unfocused at first, scanning for threats, that hypervigilance she'd seen in 100 veteran patients. He saw her, and confusion crossed his features. He didn't know her. 16 to 31 was a lifetime of change. Sergeant Martinez. She moved closer slowly. I'm Emma. Emma Garrett. You pushed me out of the way. In Fallujah. His eyes sharpened. Memory surfacing. Recognition dawning like sunrise. You grew up. 3 words. That's all he said. Because of you. Emma's voice broke. Because you bled for me. Because you took metal that had my name on it. Jake tried to sit up, panic flooding his face. Rex. Where's Rex? He's being cared for. Emma put her hand on his shoulder, gentle pressure keeping him down. The best vet in the state. Now let us take care of you. The Iron Cross Clubhouse at 10 a.m. was controlled chaos. 47 members packed into the main room, leather vests and denim, and the smell of coffee and motor oil. Ages spanned 4 decades, faces weathered by sun and work and living. Rita had transformed the space into a command center. Whiteboards with lists. Folding tables covered in paperwork. Food spread across every available surface because feeding people was how Rita processed crisis. Stone stood at the front, the photograph projected on the wall behind him, image blown up so everyone could see. Jake throwing himself forward. Emma's terrified face. The explosion beginning to bloom. He told the story. His voice steady because leaders don't break in front of their people. But Emma saw the tremor in his hands. Fallujah. The marketplace. His daughter visiting because she was stubborn and 17 and wanted to see where her dad worked. The Marine who'd appeared like an angel with blood on his mind. The shrapnel that should have killed Emma but instead lodged in Jake's spine. The years Stone spent searching for a ghost. Medical records painted the rest. Jake took 3 pieces of shrapnel protecting Emma. Surgery after surgery at Walter Reed, trying to remove metal too close to his spinal cord. Medical discharge in 2011 with 80% disability rating. He'd tried. God. He'd tried. Living in San Diego, attempting construction work, fighting through pain that made him vomit. But he kept showing up because Marines don't quit. In 2013, he'd adopted Rex from a military working dog retirement program. Rex had been wounded in Afghanistan, trained in trauma response, and the 2 broken soldiers found each other. Rex became everything. Woke Jake before nightmares turned into screaming. Pressed against him during panic attacks when the walls closed in. Kept him breathing when the darkness said stop. Then 2015 hit. VA cut pain medication, new policies during the opioid crisis, and suddenly Jake was working construction with untreated nerve damage that felt like knives in his spine. Lost the job, lost the apartment, too proud to reach out. Didn't want to be the guy who saved the commander's daughter and then came begging. The spiral accelerated, bouncing between shelters, but most had no pet policies. Jake made a choice. Streets with Rex or roof without him. No choice, really. By 2017, he was under bridges full-time. Rex kept him alive, woke him before the dreams got bad. Jake told Maria at the clinic that Rex was the only reason he was still breathing. Present day looked worse. Jake hadn't eaten a full meal in 4 days. That infection in his leg came from a rat bite 2 weeks back. Untreated, because what was the point? Rex stopped eating 3 days ago, and Jake knew what that meant. He'd been planning. If Rex died, he'd stop fighting. Simple as that. Stone's voice shook when he finished talking. This man took metal for my daughter, and we let him sleep in a box. The room was silent, collective shame pressing down like humidity before a storm. Bear broke it. So, what do we do? Stone's response came immediate. Everything. The plan took shape like a military operation because half the room had served and the other half had learned from them. Immediate needs first. Keep Jake at the clinic for treatment. Arrange follow-up care. Rex got intensive veterinary care, round-the-clock monitoring. Rita offered the guest house behind the clubhouse. Private and secure and handicap accessible. Members Jake's size were already texting about clothes. Maria was creating a nutrition plan because refeeding someone that malnourished took care or you'd kill them trying to help. Short-term stretched to 2 weeks. Wrench's wife, Lynn, was a veterans advocate lawyer already pulling Jake's VA files. Club Treasury allocated $15,000 initial support. They'd do a benefit ride for more. Dr. Chen estimated $8,000 to $12,000 for Rex's full treatment. Doc Harrison, retired VA psychologist and club member, was offering trauma therapy. Long-term went to 3 months. Permanent housing research. Light work opportunities through club businesses. Nothing that would hurt Jake but enough to give purpose. Lynn had already found something. Jake never properly appealed his rating reduction. There were grounds. Individual commitments came rapid fire. Bear handling daily check-ins and transportation. Tiny providing security presence because Jake's PTSD would trigger in crowds. Wrench teaching vehicle maintenance skills, giving routine and occupation. Rita doing meal planning and social connection. Doc Harrison providing trauma therapy, no charge. Emma coordinating all medical care with her nursing expertise. Stone established the final rule, and his voice carried command weight. Nobody treats this like charity. Jake earned this. He earned this in blood. We give him space. We give him respect. We give him brotherhood. And we do it quiet. No press. No glory. This stays with us. By 6 p.m., Rex was stabilized but critical. Dr. Chen wanted him overnight. Monitors and IV fluids and constant observation. Jake refused to leave. Stone brought a sleeping bag and pillow and food, setting up camp in the vet clinic waiting room like it was a forward operating base. Dr. Chen protested. "This is highly irregular." Stone's response was flat. "That dog is his family. He's not leaving family." Something in his tone made her nod and bring blankets. At the guest house, Rita moved through rooms with Emma, preparing space for a broken Marine. Clean sheets that smelled like lavender. Stocked kitchen with easy foods. Bathroom essentials arranged like a hotel. Small details that showed thought. Nightlight for PTSD nightmares. White noise machine for sleep. Blackout curtains, but also regular ones because choice mattered. Stone installed a security camera Jake could control from inside. Safety, not surveillance. Something to make him feel secure instead of trapped. They left a welcome basket, toiletries and snacks, and a note that said simply, "Welcome home, brother." Back at the clinic late evening found Jake sitting beside Rex's kennel, hand through the bars touching fur. Rex's breathing had steadied. Occasional tail movement. Small victories. Jake talked to him steady and low, telling Rex about the bikers and Emma and Hope. Concepts that seemed foreign but maybe real. Stone returned with coffee, sat beside Jake on the cold floor. Long silence stretched between them, comfortable instead of awkward. Why didn't you find me? Stone's question came quiet. After you got out. Jake stared at Rex. You had your life. Your daughter. Didn't want to be the reminder of the worst day. You gave me every day after. Stone's voice was rough. Every soccer game, every graduation, her wedding. You gave me all of it. Just did what any Marine would do. No. Stone turned to face him. You did what heroes do. And tomorrow we start paying that forward. Jake's tears fell silent, hitting Rex's fur in dark spots. I don't know how to accept help. Then you're about to learn. Stone's hand landed on Jake's shoulder, weight and warmth and presence. Because we're not asking permission. Rex's eyes opened slightly, seeing Jake through the haze. The weakest tail wag. Jake's tears fell faster, hand pressed to the kennel. Stone's grip tightened on his shoulder. Footsteps in the hallway. Emma appeared carrying soup in a thermos, still in scrubs from her shift. She looked at the two men on the floor, and something in her face softened. She sat down beside them. 3 people keeping vigil over a dying dog who'd kept a broken Marine alive. When I was 16, a Marine gave me my future. Emma's words hung in the fluorescent light. Now we give him his. Dr. Chen arrived at 6:30 Wednesday morning to find Jake asleep, with his head resting against Rex's kennel, one hand still pushed through the bars, touching fur. She stopped in the doorway. Rex was standing. Actually standing on all 4 legs, drinking water from the bowl with weak but steady laps. She hadn't thought he'd make it through the night. The prognosis had been grim enough that she'd prepared the euthanasia speech, the one about quality of life and letting go with dignity. But the old dog was drinking water, and his tail moved slightly when he saw her. She checked vitals quickly. Heart rate improved. Kidney function showing response to treatment. Still critical, but the trajectory had shifted from dying to fighting. Jake woke to her movements, eyes snapping open with that combat alertness that never quite left. He saw Rex standing, and his face transformed. Good boy. The words came out choked. Good boy, Rex. Pure joy. The kind that erases years of hard living for just a moment. Dr. Chen gave him the update while Jake's hands shook against the kennel. Rex needed 2 more weeks of intensive care, then months of recovery. But the prognosis had changed from hopeless to guarded. Cost would run around $11,500. Jake's face fell so fast it was like watching a building collapse. I can't. His voice broke. I don't have. Dr. Chen cut him off. It's handled. The Iron Cross Brotherhood handled it. They called it a debt repaid. Jake tried to protest, but she was firm. Not accepting isn't an option. Bear arrived at 9 a.m. with his truck, finding Jake reluctant to leave the clinic. Jake insisted on seeing Rex one more time. The dog licked his hand through the kennel bars, that rough, warm tongue that had woken Jake from 1,000 nightmares. I'll be back this afternoon, buddy. Jake's voice was steady despite the tears. You fight. I'll fight. The guest house sat behind the main clubhouse, small and private, with a ramp leading to the front door. Jake went silent when he saw it. Then tears. He hadn't slept in a real bed in 6 years. Cardboard and concrete, and occasionally a shelter cot that smelled like industrial cleaner and desperation. This had curtains, windows with glass that wasn't broken, a door with a lock he controlled from the inside. Rita waited with coffee and breakfast, her presence gentle and unobtrusive. She showed him around like it was normal, like broken Marines came home every day. His own bathroom with a shower that had hot water. Kitchen stocked with food. Living space with a couch that didn't have springs poking through. Jake kept saying this is too much, a mantra of disbelief. Rita's response was simple. This is what family does. Your family now. Alone in the guest house, Jake found the bathroom mirror. He'd been avoiding his reflection for years, catching only glimpses in store windows and car side mirrors. Now he stood and looked. Gaunt face, cheekbones sharp enough to cut, eyes that had seen too much and showed it. 40 years' worth of hard living packed into 38 years. He barely recognized himself. He sat on the bathroom floor and sobbed. 6 years of held trauma pouring out in waves. every night under bridges, every meal from dumpsters, every moment thinking he deserved this because he couldn't hold it together. Stone heard it from the main house, that raw, broken sound of a man who'd finally stopped running. He moved toward the guest house, but Rita caught his arm. "He needs this." Her voice was firm. "He needs to let it out." So they let him cry. Doc Harrison showed up Wednesday afternoon, a man in his 60s with gray hair and the calm presence of someone who'd walked through hell and come out the other side. Jake was resistant. "I don't need a shrink." Doc smiled. "I'm not here as a shrink. I'm here as a Marine who came home broken too." Then he told his story. Vietnam, the jungle and the body counts, and coming home to people who spit on his uniform. PTSD before they had a name for it. Homeless in the 80s, living under the Santa Monica Pier. A veteran outreach worker who'd refused to give up. Connection made through shared experience, the kind you can't fake. Emma coordinated care with Dr. Thomas Reed, a private physician who did pro bono work for the club. Comprehensive health assessment revealed the full damage. Chronic infections that had been eating away at Jake's system. Malnutrition so severe his body had been cannibalizing muscle tissue. Untreated nerve damage complications from that original shrapnel. Pain that would hospitalize most people, but Jake had been living with it for years. Treatment plan rolled out like a military operation. Antibiotics for infections. Nutrition therapy with careful refeeding protocols. Pain management using non-opioid alternatives. Physical therapy to rebuild strength. Thursday brought Lynn's VA investigation. She spread Jake's records across the clubhouse table, documents telling a story of systemic failure. Disability rating improperly reduced in 2015, based on missed appointments when Jake had been homeless with no stable address. Pain medication cut without proper alternative treatment, despite medical records showing ongoing complications. Multiple protocol violations. Lynn's voice was sharp with professional fury. "We can fix this." The club's daily presence became Jake's new routine. Different members visiting, bringing meals, offering company, asking nothing in return. Wrench teaching basic motorcycle maintenance in the clubhouse garage, showing Jake how to clean carburetors and gap spark plugs. Purpose wrapped in routine. Bear taking Jake to visit Rex twice daily, those trips becoming anchors in Jake's day. Tiny sitting quietly playing chess, his massive presence somehow comforting, and Jake slowly opening up between moves. No pressure, no expectations, just presence. By Friday he was eating, walking short distances, tail wagging when Jake appeared. Dr. Chen watched them together. He's a fighter, like his owner. Jake's spirits lifted with each visit, color returning to more than just his face. Rex started recognizing other club members, accepting their presence as safe. Thursday night, Jake accepted a dinner invitation to the main clubhouse. Nervous, triggering, the crowd and noise and exposure. But the members understood instinctively. They gave him space, kept voices low, positioned him near the door with easy exit. Rita seated him where he could see all approaches. Tiny positioned himself as a buffer between Jake and the crowd. Bear told a terrible joke about a carburetor, and Jake laughed. First time in years that sound emerged, and the entire room felt it. Small moment. Huge significance. Saturday brought the VA confrontation. Lynn arranged a meeting with Regional Director Marcus Thompson, a bureaucrat in his 50s, who lived in policy manuals and risk assessment. She brought Stone and Emma as medical professional, and Jake, reluctant and shaking. Lynn presented documentation like a prosecutor. Improper rating reduction, treatment failures, systemic breakdowns that had cost a Marine his life. Thompson went defensive immediately. These things happen in a large system. Bureaucratic language meant to deflect responsibility. Mr. Martinez should have maintained contact. Emma's fury erupted. He was homeless because you cut his benefits. Stone usually maintained control, but something snapped. He stood to full height, leather vest with patches visible, every inch the Marine he'd been before contractor work. His voice went low and dangerous. "This Marine took shrapnel for my daughter. Your system put him under a bridge with a dying dog. He slapped the photograph on Thompson's desk. You see this? This is heroism. You know what your paperwork is. Cowardice. In the waiting area, a reporter named Dana Collins had been investigating veteran homelessness. She heard the confrontation, approached Jake afterward with careful respect. Can I tell your story? Jake's instinct was immediate refusal. Privacy. Shame. The idea of being exposed. But Lynn leaned close. Sometimes the system only changes when people see the cost. Jake agreed with conditions. Limited scope. Won't be victim narrative. Will be truth. Focus on Rex. On brotherhood. On solutions. Saturday night the club held a bonfire. Jake attended voluntarily, first time choosing social engagement. Rex had been released for an overnight visit and sat beside Jake near the fire. Members shared their own stories around the flames, struggles and recoveries and failures and triumphs. Jake realized something profound. Brotherhood meant shared brokenness and shared healing. Sunday morning, Jake worked on a motorcycle with wrench in the garage. The backfire happened without warning. Sound like gunfire. Jake's brain registered explosion before consciousness caught up. Panic attack. Flashback to Fallujah Marketplace. The heat and blood and Emma's scream. Wrench saw the signs, talked him through with steady voice. You're in Colorado. You're safe. You're with brothers. Rex pressed against Jake's legs, grounding weight and warm fur. Recovery took 15 minutes instead of the hours it would have taken alone. Jake's voice shook. This is why I couldn't work. Why I couldn't function. Wrench's response was immediate. So we work around it. We adapt. Marines adapt. 3 weeks later, Dana Collins's story went viral. Marine who saved commander's daughter found homeless. Biker Brotherhood steps in. It focused on systemic VA failures and Jake's sacrifice and the Iron Cross response. National attention flooded veteran homelessness issues. VA announced a policy review. Thompson got reassigned. Jake's progress accelerated. Lynn secured retroactive disability benefits. Restored proper rating. Back pay totaling $47,000. Medical treatment cleared infections. Weight gain of 22 pounds. Pain management working. Physical therapy improving mobility and strength. Doc Harrison's assessment was cautious but hopeful. PTSD will be lifelong but manageable with support system. Jake's own words carried more weight. I'm learning to live with it instead of being swallowed by it. Rex achieved full recovery. Healthy weight restored, following Jake everywhere, still serving as emotional support, but now both were healthier. Dr. Chen summarized it perfectly. You saved each other. That's the truth. Community response overwhelmed them. Donations flooded in. $127,000 for a veteran support fund. Iron Cross established the Jake Martinez Veterans Assistance Program, focusing on homeless veterans with service animals. Jake agreed to help with peer support. No formal role, just presence. Jake used his back pay as down payment on a small house. 2 bedrooms, fenced yard for Rex. Walking distance from the clubhouse. First-time homeowner at 38. Members helped renovate. Wheelchair accessible for future planning. PTSD-friendly layout with controlled sightlines and security system. Jake controlled himself. Moving day came 2 months after Stone found him under that bridge. Saturday morning, entire club helping Jake move into his house. Furniture donations and housewarming supplies. Rex explored the fenced yard, first time having real space to run. Jake stood on his porch, crying, while Stone stood beside him. You earned this, every bit of it. Emma arrived with a housewarming gift. Framed photograph. The original from under the bridge. Below it, a new photograph of Jake and Emma at her wedding. Guest of honor. Surprise attendance that had made her cry through the reception. The day you saved me and the day I got to celebrate with you. Jake's voice broke. I missed 16 years of your life. Emma's response was immediate. But you made those 16 years possible. And now we have the rest. Evening brought a backyard barbecue. Club members and Jake's new neighbors, curious and welcoming. Jake at the grill with Bear teaching him technique, while Rex got spoiled with attention from everyone. Wrench brought Jake's first motorcycle, a 1978 Harley-Davidson restoration project. It needs work. Thought you could help me figure it out. Unspoken message clear. Purpose and routine and brotherhood activity. Late evening, most members had left. Stone and Jake sat on the back porch, Rex sleeping between them, stars visible in clear Colorado night. Stone's voice was quiet. "You know what Emma said to me after the wedding?" Jake looked over. "What?" "She said, 'We got our miracle. That Marine is alive and he's here.'" "She called you her miracle." Jake shook his head. "I'm no miracle. I'm just a guy who did his job." Stone's response came firm. "No. You're the guy who gave me everything and asked for nothing. You're the guy who chose a dog over a warm bed. Because loyalty matters more than comfort. You're the guy who taught my daughter what sacrifice looks like." Pause, while both men processed emotion. "You saved her life. Then, without knowing it, you saved mine by giving her back to me. And now we get to save yours. That's not charity, Jake. That's family." 6 months after discovery, Jake rode his restored Harley for the first time solo. Stone beside him, full club convoy behind them. Destination was the unveiling of Martinez Veterans Assistance Center. Building purchased with donated funds. Services included housing assistance and medical support and pet-friendly shelter. Jake's role was peer counselor, part-time, flexible schedule. At the ceremony, local veterans and families and press gathered. Jake was uncomfortable with attention but present. He spoke briefly. 6 months ago, I was dying under a bridge. Today, I'm here because a brotherhood refused to let me fall. If you're falling, reach out. We'll catch you." Standing ovation. Jake looking for exit, overwhelmed. Rex pressed against his leg, grounding him. Stone's hand on his shoulder supporting him. Afterward, Emma brought her 2 children, ages 3 and 5, meeting Uncle Jake. Jake teaching the 3-year-old how to gently pet Rex. Moment of profound peace on his face. Emma said to Stone, "Look at him, Dad. He's home." Final scene unfolded at sunset on Jake's back porch. Stone and Emma and Rita and core club members gathered, Rex playing with Emma's kids in the yard. Jake at the grill laughing at Bear's terrible joke. He looked around at gathered family, chosen and blood. Remembered 6 months ago, cardboard box, dying dog. No hope. Now he had home and health and purpose and family. Emma approached. "You okay?" Jake smiled. "Yeah. For the first time in years, I'm really okay." Emma's voice was gentle. "Good. Because we need you here. All of us." Jake watched Rex playing, safe and healthy. Watched Stone with grandkids. Watched brotherhood around him. Quiet realization settled into his bones. I spent 6 years trying to survive. Now I'm trying to live. There's a difference. Emma asked, "What's the difference?" Jake's answer came clear. Survival is breathing. Living is belonging. The image widened to show the backyard gathering, laughter rising into sunset. Jake's hand on Rex's head. Motorcycle in driveway symbolizing freedom and belonging. House with lights on symbolizing home. People who wouldn't let him disappear. Jake's final thought crystallized. I took that bullet for a 16-year-old girl. Turns out, she and her family took a bullet for me too. Guess that's what brotherhood means. We don't let each other bleed out. Not in deserts. Not under bridges. Not ever.